Welcome to K-Wave 6 Radio, your show for all things positive, with your host, Kirk Spencer. Hello everyone, and welcome to our show today. I know it's been a while since I've been on the air, but a lot of people have been asking me to come back. So today, my guest is Chad Meek. Chad Meek is actually I'm going to let him introduce himself on that one, but we were introduced through a mutual friend, and we hit it off very well. But I'm going to actually give you a little forewarning with Chad. He has a very young voice. He has been around in the movie industry and a lot of other industries for quite some time. And when I met him, I thought he was like 36 years old. So, Chad, if you don't mind introducing yourself and tell us how old you actually are, if you don't mind.
Yes, no problem. My name is Chad C. Meek. I use the letter C usually, but it actually stands for Corwin, which is the Celtic name for the Ravens. So that'll give you a little hint about what I'm about. I'm 56 years old. I just turned 56 May the 3rd. So if there are any birthday cards or checks you want to send, we'll send it to my website. We'll work it out. But I am 56. I have six children, two horses, two Great Danes, a cat. Currently, I reside off the coast of Baja, California. And that's about it. I'm making a movie called Giant Rock the Movie. And it's a great film that we're very excited doing, which is essentially about, in part, some of my life, but mainly about some of the people who were around during the 50s and 60s and were the original space contactee people that came on the scene right after Roswell in 1947. So essentially, that's who I am. That's what I do. I've done a whole bunch of other things too. We can get into that, but that's it in a nutshell, Kurt.
Yeah, actually, this is the reason why I'm not giving a title to the show is because when you and I got into our first conversation, I couldn't actually just call this a show about this or that, because we're actually, for the listeners, we're going to touch on so many different subjects here. I guarantee you it's going to be all very interesting. Listening to Chad is very interesting guest for our show today, for our maiden show, for this new name of the show. And actually, after talking with Chad the first time, I decided to change the name of the show. I was going to call it Life Radio, L-Y-F-E, and I spoke with Chad, and it's like, I can go in so many different directions, but Life Radio, it was actually standing for Living Your Freedom, L-Y-F, yeah, Leaving Your Freedom Every Day. And it was like, that was great, but it was like, I'm going so far beyond just that with talking with Chad, and I can see this is going to be something that's going to continue, so I changed it to what it is now. So anyhow, there's so much about Chad that we're going to talk about, but before we get into it, let me give you a little, for instance, or an example. One reason why I'm actually talking with a guy who has had UFO experiences is because I'm not coming from it from a, if you will, a point of view of I'm green at this, I've never experienced it, and it's just going to be just somebody that's never experienced UFOs, and I'm interviewing a guy who has. So this is coming from a guy, me, who I live in Mexico as well, but I live further south than Chad does. And standing out on a balcony at night, because I live out in the suburbs of Mexico City, I used to stand out on a balcony and look up into the sky and just look at the stars, because where I live, you can do that. And I would see stars that were blinking, if you will, or just kind of like flashing in and out, in and out. And I would watch them, and I'm just going to go, okay, I see stars that are just sitting there. The light is on, you know. But the ones that are flashing caught my attention. And I would sit there and I would just look at them. And then eventually you find that some of these blinking lights would actually move, like in a square S or just a round-shaped S. And they would move and stop. And this was not just on one occasion, but they happen all the time. And I'm going, okay. So now I'm getting a little curious, so I start looking at it and talking to friends of mine that are in the military, and going, what do you have that could do something like that? And especially at that altitude, or whatever you think the altitude is, because you could have a small. I was thinking like, okay, military helicopter could sit up there way above. Well, in this area, we live close to the airport, so you're not going to have too many high-flying airplanes just passing by in our area. So I'm going, what could be up there, and for that long of time, it just shifts its movements. And people told me, and I said, well, do you think they could stay up there for that long, for about an hour or two? And they said, well, probably not with the fuel usage. Anyway, a couple of years later, I'm in a parking lot of a shopping mall, and I'm waiting for a friend to come out of his job. He works as an account manager for a bank down here. So I'm standing in the parking lot. It's an open parking lot mall, and I'm looking to the east. And it's not too windy of a day, but there is a wind blowing. So I'm thinking I'm seeing a garbage bag, a black garbage bag flying up in the air with the wind. I've seen this happen many times, not only in Mexico, but when I lived in the States. And this thing is just tumbling in the air, but it didn't come back down to the ground. And it looked like it was about 2 blocks away. So I've just continued looking because my friend is coming out. And this thing continues to roll in the air, and it starts getting larger and larger as it's coming directly towards me. This thing started taking a shape, and it looked like, if you will, a manta ray or a stingray, but with just shorter wingspan. And it crossed directly, slightly off center from me, and it was still, let's put it this way, as I've told it to many people, I could actually have taken a .22 caliber handgun, removed my glasses, I'm nearsighted but not blind, and shot this thing and hit it. I could have done it. It was that close. Looking around in the parking lot, and people are just so busy texting and walking and going doing their thing. Nobody looks up at the skies these days. And this thing just passed by quietly, silently, didn't make a noise. And that was my experience with something that I have to call an unidentified flying object, because I have never seen anything like this before, commercial or military, and it's just huge. So with that being stated, and I've had a few other minor experiences, but that was the biggest one. So with that, I'm going to actually start Chad with a question. First of all, his website is giantrockthemovie.com. Giantrockthemovie, all one word, .com. And it's very interesting. He has a movie trailer in there. And I'm going to get into asking him some questions about that. But Chad, tell us other things about yourself. I know you're an astrologer. You've had experiences with UFOs and whatnot. So I'm going to give you the floor and go for it.
Well, it's so funny. When I was there listening to you about your description as far as your UFO, experience and sighting. It's funny. They're so varied. Even my own. I mean, there's some similarities to mine. I just had one about 3 weeks ago, and here, and essentially what I was doing was I was walking up. We have a lot of big glass windows and glass doors, and so I was turning into the night, so walking everything up, and I noticed a a movement of it looked like I first thought it was like a satellite, but it was just too low for a satellite, and it was just kind of creeping, kind of crawling a little bit. And so what I did is I went outside. I was inside, and then I went outside, and I looked up, and I started watching that thing, and it kept on going very slowly. It was over the Ensenada Bay. Okay, it was over the water. And I figured somewhere between here and Ensenada, which is like 30 miles across the ocean, the bay here, it was in between somewhere distantly. But then it stopped. Okay, and so I thought, number one, it's too low for a satellite, and it's going too slow. I thought, well, it could possibly be a drone. I saw one of those recently in California over the San Onofre nuclear facility just last week, and so it had a lot of weird movement. But then it did something very, very strange, which was it completely stopped, and then it went vertical up in the sky, and it went very, very fast, and it disappeared. Okay, so I don't know what that was. Okay, I mean, and it's a matter of deduction as far as what it is. Well, it wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't a plane. It was a light. Could it have been one of our hybrid technology spaceships or whatever? That's quite possible. So it really comes under the label of an unidentified flying object. That was my recent experience. Okay, I know what I saw. I've been around. I saw a lot of them. For some reason, I'm a UFO magnet, and it was just a very, very oblique look out the window, and that's what prompted me to do that. And I've in a lot of my research, I'm listening to you, and in fact, we were talking about a rainbow ship sighting that I had back in '96. There are very, very different experiences, and there is no rhyme or reason why. I don't know why I've seen these as I have. I'm thinking it may have to do with my perception that began at a very early age with in fact, UFO abduction, some very strange experiences. One that I can tell you about, which is I was on a swinging, and I went vertical. I couldn't see the spaceship, but all I knew was my legs were flying up in the air, and I was hanging on for dear life, and telepathically telling whatever was pulling me, I'm not going. I'm not going to go with you. At least at that time, and then all of a sudden, it just the whole movement just gently put me back into the thing, and that was the end of it. And then that night, they came back, and they actually abducted me in the traditional sense, where you become immobilized, you've been hit by a stun gun, and at that time I was brought out from a bunk bed through a window, a closed window, and brought to a ship. And then during that time period, they were doing some sort of experiments with me. And I got to the point with this stainless steel. These were the gray UFO people. Whereas, and then I have no memory. I don't know what exactly they did. I knew it was very extraordinarily traumatic and scary, but I don't know precisely what they did, or at least I'm not consciously aware of any of that at any level. The next thing I know is some of the physical effects I had was I couldn't keep a sentence, and I was running high fevers, things like that. So my early experiences actually, I think, have really, as far as my pedigree, on so many different levels, kind of has prepared me to, in fact, not get completely freaked out by all this stuff.
Let me ask you a quick question here, Chad. How old were you when this happened?
4. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to set up a time.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is, I remember it like it was 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
The irony is that. And these things, they were almost because I was dealing with some, Judeo-Christian mind that I frankly did not, even though I had the preeminent authority on UFOs in perhaps the world at the time, I couldn't tell him about this for fear of my own family and their religious beliefs, thinking that I was, that I was having some problems. So I knew the difference, that it was not cool or kosher, or what the term is, to share that kind of experience. Although my parents at the time, they were in their own thing, what have you. They weren't even acutely aware of what was going on with me. The irony is my uncle picked right up on it and was actually giving me. I seen him the next day, and he said, "There's something different about you. What's going on?" And because of his many experiences with UFO instances like this, there's something that resonated. He kept on questioning. I just told him, I knew we were going with the conversation. I would say, I don't believe them. I guess I remember the feeling back then was I did not acknowledge it, that it would go away. Which was erroneous. It didn't go away. It didn't work that way.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of a little brief summary as far as some of my early experiences. But again, and I've ran into various people, in part because you suffer from a little bit, you get patronized here and there, as far as that, which frankly I don't care. Because of this, I was talking to a financial guy after I'd done a presentation for the movie, for get financing, and he came back to me and he goes, I want you to know I don't believe in UFOs. And I could say was, I don't care. It's not like, it's not some crusade per se, these things are going to happen. The only thing I can do is share the experience with what I've had, and based on my perception of what was going on, and kind of speak my truth. That's it. But I came to a point, like for instance, Kurt, I'm 56 years old. I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm going to run for president or senator or congressman.
And please don't.
I know. And I have, kind of resolved myself. I did do some investment banking. I ran oil and gas companies. I was, pretending to be this Mr. Everyday person. No, the experience is one past all that. And so now it's kind of like, this is what it is, and if it precludes me from which I'm tired of the mining industry and the industry anyway. So it's really, if I never have to poke another hole in mud again, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, actually, since you touched on that, because I do want people to understand that it wasn't. Well, I may have to choose my words better on this one, but I'll see what I can do. I'm just going to let it fly at the moment. You said this started when you were 4 years old. Okay, fine. You answered one of the questions I was going to ask you later on anyway, is when did you get interested in this stuff? So started at 4. And it wasn't a voluntary thing of, I've been watching, well, you weren't, Star Trek wasn't out just in. I want to know more about UFOs. Okay. So that answered the question about how you got introduced to it. So now you told me even in our pre-interview that you had worked in, you just touched on it, worked in mining industry, oil and gas, and so on and so forth. So if you don't mind, just give it just kind of like a cover sheet of your work experience. In other words, just lending some credibility that you just didn't go in what some people would say, just straight off the dark end, just because you had one experience at 4 years old.
Right. Actually, from 1981 to about 1999, I was running oil and gas and mining companies, and I actually am still president of the same company. We were actually trading on the old Salt Lake City Exchange. We owned mining properties up in Alaska, up near Prudhoe Bay. Up there, we had mining properties in Nevada. I personally hold the record for the amount of exploratory oil and gas wells in a given year in the state of Nevada, which led to 2 oil discoveries. So I've got a lot of Texas in scar tissue. Honduras, you name it. Just busy. Really more science based. I was actually running part of our company was geophysical. We do soil chemistry, do seismic. You name it, we were doing it, and that was pretty much my life with interlaced with all this. I don't know if there's serendipitous, various weird moments. I don't know. There's something that whenever you kind of delve into metaphysics or the spiritual aspects, there's something that telegraphs out. I don't know whether it's little antennas. I don't know what it is, but it seems like I go to an oil and gas convention, and then I end up with the PhD from Shell. We're working out astrological charts. What the gun? Let's get.
Okay, Chad, we're having
we were kind of set apart with that. Yeah.
I'm sorry. If you don't mind repeating the last maybe 30 seconds or so, because we had that same problem with Skype again.
Okay. Well, actually, I always found myself being identified with other spiritual or metaphysical people, and I had a good friend. She was a PhD working for Shell. Another fake person running a department there, and we would be up in our hotel room running astrological charts on each other and our family members and comparing notes and what have you. And with whoever would show up along our little small little group, because we couldn't tell too many people that were metaphysical and we were in the energy business. It's kind of like oil and water just mixed.
Yeah.
So rather than being in the Houston bars, drinking until we're comatose, we'd have a couple of glasses of wine, but it's just a different way. So there it is.
Yeah, just to relax and chill out with people and then go do your thing that you really are interested in.
Right. It's who you are. And one of the things too, with kind of segues into some of the metaphysical work I've done, actually as a practicing astrologer, was I was always trying to figure out why me. How come I was experiencing these things here? I really wanted to find out how come these events were continually happening to me per se, and they weren't happening at least in the magnitude or the amount of some of my brothers and sisters. what have you. Well, I found out the reason, and part of my journey with all of this is to really get a holistic or a very broad view as far as how the universe works. And so even though it goes into the category of blessings and curses, as far as how I was inducted in this, in all this stuff, I'm ecstatic and eternally grateful for having these events happen to me, because they zapped me light years ahead of where anybody else could have gone by any traditional modes. So from that respect, it's okay. But again, when you're trying to be normal, I love George Costanza's line of when people would ask him what he did and where he worked, of course, Mandalay Industries, and what do you do? I'm an architect. When I was growing up, I didn't. I said, yeah, I want to be an architect because I looked being an architect as the really decent type of employment someone would do. And I wanted to get as far, especially in my teen years. I just because you're so into being cool, I wanted to get as far from my uncle and the phenomenon of what occurred out of Giant Rock, and not only me, but my whole family. That the events that occurred. In fact, I can tell you, I would sit with my buddies. We'd be having a couple of beers in my teens, and my uncle, who was a prolific speaker, and so many different networks. He did. Actually, he was a regular on the Long John Neville show, which was Larry King took that show over. And him and Jackie Gleason used to go back and forth about life on other planets, extraterrestrials, things like that. So he was this just this force of powerful of words that he would explain to people. He would literally be explaining the unexplainable, the things that you just can't stand, and he would do such a fantastic job. But still, I wanted to distance myself. I don't want to be connected to anybody as strange or as odd as that. I took no pleasure in it. And when people would ask me, I was like a mute dummy. They'd say, "Oh, that guy's really cool, and he's really." I just they're not saying anything. I simply didn't want to get into this, which also too ways into another thing, which is actually this is the haunting of Chad Meek by his ancestors, his uncle. I was at Morton's Bio doing a presentation. I had my chief scientist and my vice president. We're doing this presentation to get these scientists to invest in our company. And I'm doing a presentation. This one guy out of the blue, the chief scientist, he kept on asking me probing questions. We're getting to this, which was getting me sidetracked because I was there. My company and my people trying to get these people to invest in our exploration, scientific exploration program. But it got completely, because it was the kind of beacon thing. He asked me, where are you from? I said, I'm from Southern California. He goes, yeah, where? I said, well, you would know where it is. He looked behind me, and I said, well, it's out in the desert, small little desert thing. Oh, really? Out in the desert. And I said, well, where? I go, well, you would know where it's at. It's out in town near Palm Springs, up 42 miles outside of Palm Springs, up in the high desert. Oh, really? Which one? And so I'm in a room full of people, completely, it was like there was a bright light shown on me. It was like hot in a vacuum, and it was just disconcerting because I couldn't figure out, what the interest was. I finally told him, I said, well, I grew up at a place near the largest freestanding boulder in the country called Giant Rock. And then he goes, well, I've been out there. And I go, oh, really? I said, yeah. There's a man named George Van Task. And I really got a lot of great ideas from him. And I go, yeah, he's my uncle. And of course, the sales presentation was over. We spent another 2 hours talking about, free energy, the litany of things that had nothing to do with what I was there for. But at the end of the day, he told me, listen, I would have never gotten in. I would not be here today had I not had the inspiration from him. Which is kind of an interesting thing, and it speaks volumes about him. Now, nothing to that a lot of people, we're getting.
Oops, we lost you again.
We're getting, yeah.
You're the
kind of still there. Still there. You hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we're getting many years away from that. So I'm the first witness to a lot of the stuff through that time of discovery, which is a phenomenon, in its own self. So it's just fascinating that people don't realize what was going on, especially in California, Southern California, right after Roswell. Well, there's several people that were in my uncle's circle. One, which everyone's going to know, his name Howard Hughes, who my uncle worked in as a flight engineer for during the war years, and prior 1947 when he went out to Giant Rock out there. As far as Howard and subsequently Howard used to fly out there regularly, and land is there's a dry lake, and my uncle had fuel for airplanes, so he would come out there and eat my aunt's boysenberry pie, and they kept in contact, and he actually backed my uncle in the Integratron, which is a molecular cellular rejuvenation machine. We'll get into that later sometime. But at any rate, those countries, and also in addition, there are people like L. Ron Hubbard, who were frequent visitors out at the Rock. Another person, Jack Parsons, who's the founder of JPL, or Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So we're talking about the who's who in Americana, and as far as the space program, et cetera, and of course L. Ron Hubbard, with his I don't know what it is, religion or whatever the thing. But anyways, all these people, all these people are out there in the same small circle, because in those days, California, ballooned up to 38 million people. There were during that time period less than a million people total in the whole state. And so subsequently, it's a very small world. But the advances that everyone was doing vis-a-vis, whereas my uncle was the original space channeler, who would actually channel information from space entities through various means. In fact, he was attributed to the word channeling when trying to explain to a reporter from Life magazine what he did and how he did it. So from then on, all the metaphysical people, they would label, they were talking to spirits or whatever, they would refer to themselves as channeling. The word came from my uncle to explain how he got information from these various space entities. But subsequently, a lot of people were doing some very strange and bizarre things along with that. I mean, not only are these people extraordinarily brilliant that were out there, they were extraordinarily in their pursuit for information. For technology, they were ruthless. I mean, they would literally go to almost any ends to get information or edge. As far as that, but and essentially what we'll segue into the movie part. That's essentially what we're taking this story, and it's an epic UFO thriller. We're taking it actually from where even beginning further before 1930 by a man named Frank Price, who originally carved out the rock. No one can figure out who in the hell or where he came from, because he comes from Germany. He's a merchant seaman, and subsequently, what does he do? He carves out an 8-story boulder and lives in it until the local authorities actually blow the place up and him in it, thinking he's a German spy. Anyways, you get the gist of some of the places that I had that I was growing up in, and at least just the sheer intriguing story that would come from this place. And it turned out to be kind of a crossroads, and that's essentially why I'm doing. I want people to really know where the roots of the space program and this whole UFO thing that's actually it seems to be blossoming. Right now everyone's coming forward. The astronauts, Cooper, all of the Apollo people have come out and spoken about their experience with even John Glenn, with contact there. So that's essentially what it is. So.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to take a little bit of break. So stick around, everyone. We're going to come back and let Chad keep on going, because you can tell even I am so interested. I'm just sitting here just going. Keep talking, Chad. Keep talking. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to let Chad continue on with this in just a moment. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to put an end to thinking about how you wish it were and take action? Take this step to find out more by going to coachingbyria.com, and you can receive your free consultation session with Coach Ria.
Coach Ria is a certified professional life coach with a passion to help make a difference in the world.
Hello, and welcome back to K-Wave 6 Radio. Our guest today is Chad Meek. He says Chad C. Meek. And if you have missed the first half hour, I would suggest you go back and listen to it. And if you're listening to this live as produced on the air, you might be listening to this on podcast or something, but go back and listen to the first half an hour. You will find this extremely interesting. Chad is talking about right now the history of, in short, I'll say it in my own way, you can correct me if you want, NASA, JPL Laboratories, and so much more information. And I'm just going to let Chad just continue on where he left off, and I'm going to sit back and enjoy this as much as you. I hope you're enjoying this as well. So, Chad, back to you.
Well, I guess where we left as far as the origins of many things, and I guess the next question that comes up is, well, sounds like a book, which I definitely know. Another question: why did you write a book about this? Well, I thought, okay, I think if the story out to maybe 100,000, maybe I'm underestimating the legs, and I probably am. But I thought that the best way to actually approach this is to not only tell a story, but show a story. And with film and some of the metaphysical things that were going on, and the various experiences. And incidentally, what I do is I essentially crunch about 30 years, at least in the first. Actually, it's part of a three-part trilogy. And I've got the second sequel. I've got it half written, and in my mind, I've probably got 4 or 5 different. You might gather, I have about 4 or 5 different things here. But the reason I did a screenplay is because I can use a lot of the new technology, including 3D, and some of this stuff to really give this stuff justice, because it's very hard. To articulate. It is very challenging to articulate in words and especially this illumination of this very interesting thing. So the medium is a combination of course screenplay, which leads to visual and special effects. Now that we have that, so you feel the abstraction with some of the experiences that I personally felt. And my uncle also, which I have all of the recordings of his channeling sessions, very space entities, things like that. So it's extraordinary. I mean, as far as what had occurred for him, when we go into these kind of trance-like things, inside the rock, actually inside of this 8-story rock, he would go and make contact, and the rock is actually, you have all kinds of mineralization. It's actually this very interesting conductor. I mean, I don't know how many people have been inside a rock. It's essentially a universal conductor that would really bring things. I guess a little bit clearer reception for him. But he would actually do these things. His whole countenance would change. The light lights would appear over his head, and his voice he would change into 5 or 6 different personages, depending on who he was talking to. So it's really kind of interesting as far as how he did it. Now. As far as getting back to him, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth here, but there's one part of this whole thing that everyone should really understand about my uncle, and that was that his whole thing. It wasn't about the money. He never saw himself as anybody other than a mouthpiece of what was going on there, and he was a anti-nuclear above-ground testing person in the 50s. Now it's you would have to put yourself back until things. And I love Arapies because it gives me opportunities to show the expressions of people. When you tell them you're anti-above-ground nuclear testing in the 50s, automatically you're communist or subversive. There's something wrong with you. I mean, you might as well. It's just So I can actually show that versus writing that, and so that was this thing. Of course, have a free interview because getting a lot of information as far as how things really work in the universe, which we're actually involved in this quantum physics. He was speaking quantum physics back then. So now we have string theory, we have energy at some level. All this stuff, which,
let me pause you for a hot second, because one of the things you just brushed on it, and I just want to bring this one to light for those who may be too young to remember this or to not even know about it. What he was talking about during his uncle's time back in the 50s, and you were communist and all that, that was the height of the McCarthy era, if you know anything about the history of that time. And McCarthy did a lot of damage, not only to scientists, but to the Hollywood industry. That's where we actually know more of that information about. But he did a lot in his fight against communism. And I can imagine that it would have affected your uncle to some degree. But anyway, I just wanted to add that in.
And really, I mean, that's the whole McCarthy time period. It's really pertinent to this whole thing too, because from that you get of course his mentor was J. Edgar Hoover, and was feeding him a bunch of stuff, but then you get into the COINTELPRO group that was actually set up to discredit anybody who claimed that they had an experience with an extraterrestrial. We actually have government that created an agency, a sub-agency to discredit anybody they claimed they actually had made contact, because it was they felt that, and I believe it was because technology changes going on, and on and on. It's a whole different whole different show. But part of that was he shared that with the likes of Dr. Martin Luther King and several celebrities that were actually they were out to get them, and they were pretty good at it. And so my uncle received a lot of things. One of the things that he did though was in 1952 he got in his channeling with this council of seven these ethereal beings had told him that the above ground nuclear testing had to stop. It had to stop. It was because of the parallel and things like that creating chaos. Now again, you're reading quantum physics, weird science, etc. But they're creating these chaos, and it was doing damage not only to the Earth's atmosphere, but it's actually these other universes. If anyone can stretch their imagination as far as that. So that was the message he got. So what does he do? He sends telegrams. Well, first of all, he says he argues with these people, and this is kind of funny. He argues with these, entities out in space that I don't want to do this. This is going to cause me a lot of heat, a lot of trouble. So he's actually essentially people look at his talking himself, whatever he's arguing with these up there, so they said, okay, well, this is what we'll do to prove the veracity of what you're saying. We will sit on top of Washington D.C. and there was a big saucer, visitation. One of the better documented, better recorded one. And so what did my uncle do? He sends a telegram to the Los Angeles Herald, which was at the time was a newspaper. He sent telegrams to the president, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He sent telegrams to Life magazine announcing they're going to be there. Like clockwork, the weird stuff. They showed up. Over there, and they stayed there for about 2 or 3 days. They were all trying to talk away as this and that. It was huge back in the day. They figured out what they wanted. Well, then all eyes became. It was a blessing and a curse because he made the cover of Life magazine. Of course, they kind of made him look like a buffoon or whatever. But the reality is that what he said happened. So at any rate, so he was very people took him very seriously. And getting back to Howard Hughes, he doesn't suffer fools. And so it wasn't like he said, oh, one day I'm a space guy. My uncle did. He didn't do it. So one of the prevailing themes of the thing is actually hero, which people who do what they're told for humankind, and they do it at risk to themselves and their families, so that kind of fits within that whole motif. But anyway, I digress, and of course I'll break. But I think that. Just to kind of give a snapshot as far as the material that we're dealing with, it's literally a kind of a cat and mouse type thing, and regarding the early UFO contacting movement, the effort to silence them, and of people would be silenced, and in this obscure out of nowhere place that. The Prime Minister of England knew about, the President Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy knew about, in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere. So that's what I think is really kind of fascinating. Even to me, I kind of giggle a little bit because at the time I'm growing up, I'm watching my uncle. I'm down the road. It's like I'm living in this real world. I'm having my own experiences. At the same time, it's like it's just a crazy, wacky world there. So anyway, I guess that's probably why people think I'm a little strange.
Reality and what other people consider to be strange, there seems to be, in my experience, there seems to be a fine line between the two of them anyway. You and I, you and I at our pre-interview, or when we just got to know each other, we had shared a lot of information, personal information about ourselves and our experiences. And I even told you about the time when I was 5 years old and telling my father's friend about what he should do at 5 years old, and it shocked and amazed them. And to this day, people that I grew up with, they look at me and just go, "You just don't understand what you see and what you understand." And it just seems to be our experiences in life that takes us there. Now, why, as you said earlier, why me? I kind of take it as, and I know you understand this point of view, it's a lot of people use this expression these days as indigo children and those who actually came before indigo children, which you and I would fall into because of our age group. And actually more probably of your uncle and those people who were, like they say, the precursors to the indigo children, which are supposed to be nowadays. So,
Sure. Some has to do the lifting, and that's one thing, and for a while there, and I shaped this too, because a lot of people wanted to get, or they were looking for science. They ridiculed a lot of those people in the 50s and 60s. Now, they refer to them as the tinfoil hat group, and that irritates me because. If it wasn't for them, then they would be where they're at today. They took all the heat. And that's one thing. They were kind of like somewhat unsung. I mean, listen, you see something out of the sky, you haven't experienced that, you're going to be odd, you're going to be different. And especially during that time period. And that's really because it's era piece. That's one thing. I want to emphasize why film, because you can see the expression. It would be somewhat dry in verbiage. I mean, but I really that's part of the thing too, and that's why I'm doing this film. Because you have to put everything in context. Like, for instance, McCarthyism and J. Edgar Hoover and what was going on during this period. Historically, here's a story reference. Black people couldn't eat in the same restaurants as white people. I mean, it's like, and this is, it's not all that far back. I look at it, I'm like you. I watched television, of course. I think I saw color TV till 1968, but bottom line is that I'm seeing all this stuff here, and so you have to put everything in the context of what time period was, and the sacrifice that essentially they made, which were extraordinary, because Barney and Betty Hill. I mean, most of these people were pretty regular. I mean, anyways, they were, and they didn't want to draw a lot of attention to themselves. But having said that, and this was what really, and again, to scientific, again, no one would ever be here with people kind of standing up and doing that. They were very effective. They essentially buried Roswell all those years as a balloon. I mean, as a they were very good at it. I mean, literally able to do that. Since everyone that was involved has spoken their truth, recounted, went back and told them they'd actually acted, were told to lie or else and what have you. So the other component of this too, and I really kind of you start putting the pieces together. I mean, I was there at a time of discovery, and I start remembering various things that were completely out of place. Like as an example, I would see Marine helicopters or military airplanes out at park near the rock, because it's a dry lake. And I couldn't figure out why my uncle was they all smoke cigarettes and drink coffee. That's one big cloud of smoke during my period. But I couldn't understand why they were there. I mean, why the military was there. Well, I found out later that my uncle was the subterranean or the underground guy that if you had an experience with a extraterrestrial or UFO or something out of the ordinary, that you would go talk to him because he would talk to you. Because at the time, there was no one to talk to. There was no one to talk to. And also at the time, if you told anybody about your experience, what would happen is you would be kicked out of the military, you would lose your vocation as an airline pilot. So what I guess what I'm trying to articulate is I'm putting these pieces together from there, and then some of the research as far as what they were doing out there. But there were little kind of keys where I kind of said, well, I need to answer a question in my head. What were those people doing out there? And so you look at a whole thread. But having said that, it's really says a lot about him because he didn't have to talk to anybody.
Yep.
I mean, he didn't have to do that. But I ran into people all over the world that had actually spoken with my uncle about that, and so I, and actually told me what. I didn't know that when you're close with somebody, there's my crazy Uncle George, or he'd say things like to me, we don't need to burn gasoline to move cars. Now, if you're anywhere from the ages of 5 to 10 or whatever, and it's during the early 60s, you're going to really not be able to understand what that means. I mean, you're going to think that person told you that. Is there something wrong with them? So I always had this conflict, knowing my own experiences, knowing there's something extraordinarily special about my uncle, but still not being able to resolve that specialness, just like anyone, just like you or me. I mean, they wouldn't understand what's the motive? Why are you so different? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to prove? All these questions that everyone has if you don't fit this square box, and that's generally what we.
Actually, that's something I want to get into after our next break, which is coming up in a few minutes. I was watching your trailer. If you don't mind me interrupting you for a moment here. And we're going to get into your movie and whatnot after our break at the top of the hour. Some of the things that you're bringing out in the trailer, and I'm just going to read my notes here. Let's see. Some of the things that we were talking about, matter of fact, you had brought up just a little while ago, distractions in the media. Those who, we're going to talk about this one because I want to give you an introduction to this one. This is about a friend of mine who lives not in the United States. I don't want to say what country he's in. He was a forensic scientist for the military, and he was telling me that he and some other forensic scientists of the same country, and actually some other countries, I would imagine, since I'm not a forensic scientist, I would imagine that these people have a small group of them, so they end up meeting each other, maybe at conferences or whatever, and they end up talking to each other, and they're telling me, he is telling me that he and his fellow forensic scientists occasionally come across these bodies that nobody knows who they are, and they do an autopsy on them, and they find out that, as he's told me on a couple of occasions, he's found that one body he had did not have any body fat in it at all. And if you know anything about human physiology, there has to be some body fat in the body. Other cases, he's found that the lungs were in the wrong place, or they didn't have any lungs at all. They had a heart that was on the opposite side of the sternum. He just comes up and he says, physically, they look like anybody of the region. But when you do an autopsy on them, they're not human. This is not any human physiology in them at all. So, and he actually asked me not to even tell the story, but I figured, well, as long as I don't say what country he's from, it shouldn't be too difficult of an issue. But these are just things he doesn't want. Just as you were saying, you could all have all kinds of things happen to you because of this information getting out. So I just leave it at that. And before one more thing before we go, this is my other notes here. We as a race of beings are more interested in micromanagement rather than seeing and living the big picture. Our micromanagement can be seen in short in such areas such as in race relations, in religious relations, how we accept others and for different religious beliefs, or people of different races, or sexual orientations, or politics, money. We love to micromanage, and we refuse to see the big picture. I want to get into that more after the break. So let's take a short break here, and we're going to come back with Chad Meek in just a moment. So please stay tuned. Thank you for listening to K-Wave 6 Radio, your show for all things positive. We'll be right back after the short break, so please stay tuned. Also, please remember to visit our website at www.kwave6radio.tk. That's www.kwave6radio.tk. Hi, and welcome back to K-Wave 6 Radio. Our guest today is Chad Meek. We're going for a 2-hour interview with this young man. I call him young man because to me, he still sounds like he's 36, but he's actually 20 years older than that. So as a compliment to him, he has grown adult children. Are you a grandfather yet?
I got 16.
Pardon me?
16.
I think we're having Skype issues again. Okay. You have six children, I know that. Yep. And then what happened?
I think 16 is 16 grandchildren.
Whoa! Hello. And he still sounds like he's 36. I don't know about the rest of it. Sounds like he's 36.
Around here.
Huh?
Christmas gets expensive around here.
Yeah, I imagine.
I get depressed in the month of December. I know it's your birthday, but I usually get depressed because I know it's coming a big bill.
Yeah. Well, I'm me. I just kind of like, okay. I just turn on my internet radio or listen to my music. And I just let it slide by. That's just me. But as we were saying before the break, let's get back into it because you have so much interesting information going on here, and we only have just under an hour to go. So where do you want to start off with this? And before we get into that, because I like to let you just go. I don't have to interview you; just let you go. You're just interesting to me. Also, because you were talking about writing a book and doing a movie, you were telling me about your relationship with a movie company up in California. I won't say it by name. If you want to, that's your choice. And the issues that you're having with them. And what is that all about? So just go anywhere from there.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Yeah. Early on last. Actually, it went from I ran into some real issues with some people that had previously worked for a major movie studio in one capacity or another. One guy was a manager, been involved in the Pirates of the Caribbean and various things, and apparently very successful and what have you. But we kind of they love everything about it, but in Hollywood speak, what that means is that they want to interlope in most of the whole thing, and they were trying to. Early on, I agreed to bring them on, and essentially we created our own little production company, and they to move this thing forward. I was glad to have them. There was a character actor that actually really inspired me to write the screenplay. And I don't want to bring up his name for whole myriad reasons. But there was several issues that came up, and one of it was the just the commercialization of a body of which is my screenplay, my intellectual property, which is copyrighted with the Congress and Writers Guild West. The changes come. We're turning it into more like Indiana Temple of Doom or Pirates of the Caribbean, simply because that's what they felt the commercial value, which I passionately disagree. I think that there's and people they'll gather by the conversation. This is not like that, and it was just because of that whole thing. I literally had various issues with them, and they finally wanted to corral me and say, okay, we're not going to pursue this unless you do what we tell you to do about it. Well, there's several issues. Number one, it's a legacy issue. Not only is it part of my story, but it's also people who I deeply care about, and a message that I'm just emphatically clear of what needs to be said. And some of the dumb stuff they wanted to do. One of the guys, he was friends with Michael Richards. He wanted to get him film. Michael Richards, of course, is Kramer.
Yeah.
And I felt like me could not play Kramer in my role that I had. It just was so, and it was that was part of the scar tissue of the studio system as far as always doing a favor and solid for somebody 5 or 6 years ago. Now as an example, but Chris Christopherson, he was doing a movie with one of these people that were involved. And he got wind of this and was extraordinarily interested, signed a letter of interest to come in and do this, which I was okay. I was completely okay with it. Nikon, very well would be very well suits one role. But that was I was okay. But when they were messing around with the script and messing around with the central message. Another example is, one guy had a dream at night. He said, "Well, I'd like to have your aunt and uncle get in a fight. Your aunt drives off, and then your uncle jumps in a Piper Cub and runs her off the road." And I just couldn't. I said, number one, I think it's really stupid. I don't want to do it. So we were having some creative differences, and number one, it's unnecessary. It's an intelligent script. It's well crafted. Everyone reads it, gets it immediately. They can see the whole thing as far as this. So we had kind of a clash there, and it culminated to. Well, we're going to have me as producers unless you do what we say. We're going to go. We're not going to proceed. And so it really kind of irritated me because I never looked at this thing like that and put in that predicament of that really wanting to advance the movie and et cetera, and they were doing some other stuff behind my back. To make a long story short, I was really becoming unhappy with them. So what I did is I just shut their emails off. So here, okay, the line is down. Okay, here. So and then I thought, okay, well, and I did it just to get a message. Here, I wasn't firing anybody. I was just saying, hey, wait a minute here. This is something we've got to do, and it's got to be done right. I'm on the line, and this thing will make a ton of money regardless. It doesn't need to be that dumbed down, to that respect. Then this is part of the inside in the dirty world of show business and what have you. I actually got a death threat on a station on a letterhead by an agent. And I just laughed at it because I think you guys are out of your material mind, So on one side, I realized that there was material interest, and that they were looking at this, as the next Starship Enterprise or Close Encounters of the Third Kind or whatever. I don't know what they were looking at, but still, again, it just wasn't necessarily a three-part company. So essentially, I kind of recently had to get some things done, and now we're starting over and bringing on people. Incidentally, the movie stars who were originally interested in this thing are still there. We've had a guy, Rudolph Martin. He's a lesser-known German actor. But a brilliant actor and a perfect Frank Kreitzer, who was German. And he signed a letter of intent. Chris Christopherson did. Tom Sizemore, who was in several really good movies. Character actors, had a lot of problems and been in the mainstream media with real negative stuff. But he was in Saving Private Ryan. He was he expressed, I want in on this thing here. So, anyways. I'm not worried about celebrities. The big concern is getting distribution. That's something that you always have to be concerned with. But I'm really not concerned with that because once the movie gets made, there's nobody. I've done several shows with this stuff. I've probably been 35 to 40 million people heard me. People will come. I've got letters. Everyone's going to come to it the minute they see it. And just by some of our preliminary trailers, people would actually have an interest in seeing it. So I'm not worried about that. It's just the price tag of getting to make a moderate, and believe it or not, this is considered a low-budget movie, which is $30 million. So it's a huge road to go. But bottom line is that we're here for the long haul, and this thing's going to get done right. And incidentally, we have a lot of other A-listers that I can't even mention names that have expressed interest, just word of mouth, by they've heard of the project. So there's a little bit of a buzz here, and I just kind of look at this thing. It's going to get done. I know it. And I gotta just get up every day and yell and scream as loud as I can about Giant Rock the movie and to love us, like us, go to our website, et cetera. That's stuff I've got to do right now. And then when we get the production of it, we'll do a great job, and then we'll get released.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And for those who are listening and wondering what the heck is he talking about, he's talking about the movie Giant Rock the Movie. And if you go this on the internet, you don't have to even do a search on it. It's just Giant Rock the Movie, all one word, giantrockthemovie.com. There you go. And you can see the trailer. I believe it is around 2 minutes long, if I remember that correctly.
Yep.
And it'll tell you something about, as a matter of fact, I have it right here, about the story, news, and if you want to contact Chad, there's a contact page right there on the website. So with going into that, getting back to the trailer, you're actually talking about micromanagement, but I want to get back into what the micromanagement that you're talking about in the film. Or in the trailer. The trailer is going to give you a lot of information in 2 minutes. So can you be a little bit more descriptive about... Now, I'm just calling it micromanagement because that's what we as humans do. Okay, we try, instead of seeing ourselves as a human race, we have to see ourselves as blacks and whites and Latinos and Europeans and Africans and Russians, and the list just goes on. And we can't see ourselves as, you and I would talk about before, When I was doing metaphysical seminars and I started doing this, I looked for the commonalities in religion. In other words, what are the basic contents of all religions that each religion has? And I found there is a commonality in that, but we tend to argue and fight about the details that separates this. Well, let's put it this way. To use it as an example, Christianity is supposed to be one of unifying, but there are over 3,000 different denominations within Christianity that are all claiming to be the truth.
And the only truth.
Yeah. And in other words, what I'm saying is they're looking at the details of what makes them separate from the other guy instead of what joins them together. So that's just one. And then now we've got this thing nowadays where everybody's just has this big issue about gay marriages and gay this and gay that and lesbian that. And I mean, it's always existed, but now it's just in the news all the time. And then the politics and what's the difference between this group and that group, and the politics are pretty much becoming just like lawyers and attorneys, is that they fight in court, but these the same guys that are fighting in court actually go out and play golf together, they go out and have dinner together, their families know each other, so it's not like they're fighting for real, it's just they're fighting a case.
Right.
Yeah, and it just goes on and on. The list goes on. But you bring this up in your trailer is to basically say the same thing I'm saying, is we're all fighting against each other for details.
Right. It seems ridiculous in so many things. Obviously, people are very passionate about the various nuances. Even the Muslim faith. They believe that Muhammad was the true Messiah. As far as that they believe in Abraham and they believe in Moses and they actually respect Jesus. And so when you talk about even something as diametrically opposed by most people's views. Which is the Muslim faith and Christianity, they're pretty close. I mean on several things. But we live with this, and this is the whole definition of hell. Is being separate. Heaven is being connected and finding some form of nirvana, and that's what it is. Being connected with all this stuff. You throw in the UFO phenomenon too, which is really interesting thing. You go to Ezekiel, you talk about the will of the sky. You can talk about the Watchers in the Old Testament. Who are these Watchers who went down and bred with the daughters of man? Okay, and so I mean, there's all this stuff, and it's like everyone will they'll dissect one portion of whatever. I mean, the Old Testament, the Torah, this and that, and they'll basically want to drive a particular point, not working at unification, but looking and making someone either right or wrong. And so we're all living with that, and it's. I think that. I believe it's Ed Casey that when you die, you end up finding out that everyone was right and everyone was wrong. About all this stuff here. And then you have this. Then again, you get into the wacky world of quantum physics, quantum mechanics come in here and explain this different whole world. I don't know. We're looking. I think us as mortals, we're looking for a unifying principle, a unifying force, and the way it looks like with various. In fact, talk about it. I mean, it gets personal as far as the politics of the planet. It gets with what's going on.
Hold on. We're having a little problem with Skype again.
Okay.
You're back. There you go.
Yep. they politicalize this, and again, if your limit, I mean, it's we're certain we have some but
Chad, I don't know. Hold on. Chad, hold on a moment. Chad, hold on. Please stay tuned. We're suffering technical difficulties, but we'll be right back. Sorry, folks. We had a little problem with our reception, our signal between each other, even though we're in the same country. It's still Skype. Anyhow, we left off with Chad talking about where we were talking about micromanagement and the differences that go on between. I think you left off talking about similarities and the differences even in relationships. I think I'll leave you off with that.
Right. You're right. Yeah. There are a lot of similarities. The one similarity I think with most is that they're actually dangerous in many respects as far as that, because there's one, but there's a lot of and actually that's part of my application is comparative religion. I mean, I study all of them. As far as that goes. I love the elegance of Buddhism, and I really do. I read the Rig Veda and some of the ancient Hindu texts. That's been my life as far as trying to find out again, the likenesses. The irony is that I actually that's what I do. And it does seem strange that we have all this. But the one thing about it is that I mean, and now, which makes me somewhat pause a little bit. The Catholic Church and NASA are doing joint ventures, and they're seem to be coming full circle now. All of a sudden, it's okay to believe in extraterrestrials, and there's a change that's going on. There's this insidious thing that occurred for years and years to them. They essentially squashed and eliminated the Gnostic practitioner, the Gnostic religion. They came after it, created this materialistic man religion with all the pomp and ceremony and things like that. Yeah. So, but what we did is we lost our perennial connection with our Creator, and it resurfaces. And I thought it'd be and this is really weird, which is optimistic. I'm fairly optimistic about this whole perennial religion, which is God's religion, which is actually straightening a lot of stuff out. It's very simple. It's recognition of a higher power, and being able to use this the UFO contact. I think we're going to see something extraordinary. Because I think one day we're going to wake up, and I think we're, our needs will be very simplified as far as both political and religious. I mean, we have to get to some sort of point. Those things become unnecessary, and those differences and boundaries. And you imagine a planet, planet Earth, seeing a line. You don't see a line from Mexico and the United States or even Canada. There are no lines. You're going to see one people. And again, but I'm calmly optimistic. I'm just seeing some interesting things that are leading me to other than Armageddon, other than this complete destruction of planet Earth. The funny thing, when you bring it up, I had this huge investor from Russia, a billionaire, tractor factory, things like that. Loved the screenplay. Well connected. Person who works for me is best friends with his girlfriend. So we had the inside track, and so we just recently, he was going to go in and fund a lot of the movie. He owns 35 movie theaters also in Russia, and he's had to pass because the United States' position on people from Russia, and they have a way of essentially confiscating their possessions. I don't know how that works, but so we've actually felt the brunt of that. So we kind of had to postpone or table his participation because we're concerned that if the thing is the $1 billion franchise we think he is, that his portion of his investment will never get to him. So these are real world dilemmas that are faced on people like me. I mean, it's laughable because I'm making a film, and yet I've had to enter into this geopolitical nonsense that is being forced on us. But having said that, I'm still optimistic. I'm optimistic that everything will be taken care of, and it perhaps may be through contact with superior intelligence. They're just going to say, "Hey, listen, you guys are wrong here, and this is think of a world where we essentially we're dealing with people from other universes and maybe a higher elevated group with higher vibrations, chakras, or whatever is the thing that we can actually get into. But doing all this intrigue and all this political, people dying over all this stuff. The common man has turned into a chess piece. Yeah. Expendable.
I'm going to bring you back to this trailer again here real quick because I'm listening to you and I had to write this down because I told you when I listen. And by the time you finish speaking, I will have forgotten exactly what I wanted to say. So I had to write it down. Go ahead. When I was a kid, I used to think and ask these questions even of my parents. I remember one day my mother was talking about, you turn off the water, you don't have to pay the water bill. And that just you're talking about something that happened when you were 4 years old. This happened for me just 5 minutes ago, exactly for you. I'm about to say that in Spanish, and it's just like, okay, you and I may understand that. I don't know how many others would. But anyway, the thing that I used to ask my parents is, why do you have to pay for something that comes out of the sky and flows on the ground? Why do we have to pay property taxes? Why do we have to pay taxes at all? Why do we have to pay for something that was freely given? It's just part of our life here on Earth. Okay, I can understand the food industry to a certain degree, especially farmers. Yeah, you spent your time, you should get paid for it. Okay, fine. That's good. Or barter for it, whichever. I like the barter system better. But anyhow, why do we have to do that? And I can never get an answer straight out of that one. There's never any straight answers for that. So those are questions I used to ask, and even growing up. Why is there... I used to ask questions even when I was going to parochial schools. Why is there such a separation between what we believe and what somebody else believes? If there's one God, why is there so many divisions? Why are there so many views on the same subject? And then it came down to if we get so taught, we're taught so much about our own particular denomination. we forget to look at the simplest things in the Bible. Now, coming from a biblical background, let's put it this way. If you look in Genesis, it tells you everything about the beginning. And for me, that's just my point of view, is if you understand the beginning, you understand the rest. The rest of it is just details.
Sure.
But if you understand the beginning, God created everything, using it from a typical Christian way of explaining it. So if you're not a God believer, pardon the expressions, but I'm just going to make it easy. If you look at the Bible from the beginning, in Genesis, you understand God created everything. Heaven and the earth and everything that we see and things that we don't see or don't understand. The things that He did not create, without getting into details, because details always seem to clog up our mental abilities to reason. The things that He didn't create was money. That's a man-made invention. He didn't create war. That's a man-made invention. Okay, unless you're Christian, then you can sit up here and argue the fact that, war between the devil or Lucifer and so on and so forth. But that's actually not in Genesis. That's in Revelations. Okay. But getting back to the theory here. Yeah. So getting back to this is the other thing He didn't create was religion. Nowhere in Genesis where you find that God says, I created this religion and I want you to worship me this way. That would be the equivalent of your father, my father, saying, I want you to worship me. Which puts almost like a bridge between you and your father. Yes, you're my dad, but I have to give you much more awe and respect than, Sure. I could talk to my dad. My dad was my friend. And from my own experiences, my creator is my friend.
Right. Yeah. There's different gods, and I think that even there's without trying to offend anybody, there's actually children of lesser gods.
Yeah.
And one of the things they talk about this God who's jealous. If you're God, you don't have any reason to be jealous. You created everything. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. As far as the whole graven image and all this other stuff, you create. You're God.
Okay. Let me give you that real quick, as I understand this. Okay, it's jealousy is not. If you're the only guy, there's no reason to be jealous. What it's talking about, in my understanding of this, and I'll leave it at that, is that we as human beings, we oftentimes put things and relationships and whatnot before our relationship with our Creator. So that's the jealousy part. In other words,
there's that. And of course, if you're a follower of Jesus, something that I would ask people, what did Jesus tell everyone? Jesus didn't say start a religion, worship me. What he said is love one another. That was one of the highest. Well, of course, love is God, etc. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to in all faiths. Love is actually it's an abstraction. It's the noble. It's something that it's very hard conceptually to ever get to or to articulate about because it's just so powerful. It works and do justice. So I kind of look at that, and again, we see this thing. So, but there have been some very inspired entities that have come down and have either incarnated or just came down physically and just literally we're trying to do this. This is a very special place, and everything is given to us. We as far as they created a god of money. And I don't know whether it was Babylonians. I don't know who it is, but every religion, what do you give? What do you tithe? What do you give them? You give them money. So essentially, the tribute is to the god of money. They're all of them. So essentially, we've gotten so far off, and the various Hindu Kali Yuga talk about this being very, very dark and the various spiritual entities are completely disenfranchised from what they really are. That essence, but One thing about it, and this is one thing I'm very confident about what I've come to conclusion is that the creator of the first cause gave us the spark that travels with us. That is extraordinary and very special in the whole human condition. That regardless of whatever your life is, you have that spark that is transmittable. I mean, it goes with you, and that is that connection, that innate connection with the creator of the first cause. So that's one of the security blankets. Most people don't realize they have it. And again, this is all part of this gigantic illusion where people want to put all these barriers of war and of monetary, materialistic, things and what have you in between all of us. There's just in many respects, in fact, that's what the Buddha said. This is just a world of misery. I actually think there is, as far as that, because people become very attached to all these things, and really the only thing that we really need is our connection to the first cause or that creator, and we have it. But it's a realization, and I'm not going to go out on a rock and sit there for 40 days or whatever the time period is. I'm not going to do that, but and maybe there's some more enlightened people that would do that. But bottom line is that we have this this connection. It's part of our inheritance. It is our legacy. Most people don't. If they really understood what that was, we would have no crime. We would have no wars. We would really have peace on earth. But somebody is going to have to show, and in many respects, show what that is. And they talk about sacrifice, which makes sacred. And one of the things too, and I pray all the characters in the movie is making really very tangible, very visible sacrifice. Literally every. Some of the antagonists, I make them look kind of bad, but for the most part, I mean, the characters, I don't make them out of saints. As an example, my uncle was a rounder. The guy, he loved every woman that ever walked the planet, and caused a lot of heartache with my beloved aunt, and all that stuff. But it's just who he was. This is not about saints. This is about real people who, when everything comes down to it, they say, "Wait a minute, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to do this." No matter what, because I have to do this because this is right. And even with all the human flaws, which all of them, when you get to the movie, people, you'll see them. But we'll make them real.
Yeah. Just closing on the show today, and Chad, we're definitely going to have you back again. And I hope you do accept another invitation.
I will, absolutely.
Beautiful. Because I like to continue on this because we've gone through a lot, and I want to end up on a positive note. You know that's basically what my show is all about anyway, is ending with something that's positive, even if not just making the whole show that way. But you had so much to give, and I know you have so much to share in another time, and that's why I want to bring you back. But ending the show on a positive note is building on something that you said a little bit earlier. And I'm going to paraphrase a little bit how I read it originally. Was Abraham was not a Jew. Jesus was not a Christian. Buddha was not a Buddhist. And the list goes on. But what they all had in common was love.
Yep.
Now, to build on that one, I saw this video that's been going around on Facebook. And it was showing how one dog was crossing the freeway and got hit by a truck. And we as humans, we hit a dog, fine, we just keep on going. Another dog that was crossing the freeway at the same, around the same time saw this and went over into the traffic and pulled the other dog off the freeway, not with his teeth, but literally pulling him off with his paws. And then some construction workers or maintenance crew for the freeway came along and saw this and helped the dogs. Got it to a hospital, and the dog that was hit actually lived. Then this video goes from animals helping each other to a child that was this was in China, I believe. Anyway, it was some Oriental country. They didn't say exactly where. Who was on a small, narrow street where it was only possible for traffic to go in one direction. So if you were coming from the other direction, you had to pull over and let the other traffic pass. The small child, roughly about 3 years old, was hit by a truck, a van, okay? And wasn't going that fast, just knocked it down. And the driver, instead of getting out to check on the child, continued on. After he stopped. Didn't get out, continued on slowly and rolled over the child's legs. People passed by walking, riding on motorcycles, all this over some extended period of time. Some woman came out, probably in her, I would say, early 40s, taking a guess, saw the child, picked the child up and took it off the street and propped it up against some boxes. Still more time passes by, and then a woman comes out. I don't know if it was the child's mother, didn't say. She's just screaming and whatnot, and then picks up the kid and goes off about, I guess, trying to take care of the kid from there. But all this time, the dogs actually showed more love and caring and respect for another animal than we do for our own. Mm-hmm. That is sad, especially when we had so many people that came to show, and we take that and make our own divisions, because there's divisions in Buddhism, there's divisions in Christianity, there's divisions in Judaism. You name a religion, there's a division in it somewhere. And we get arguing on details, but we're missing the big picture. And you talk about that in your movie trailer. I'm quite sure you're going to bring that out in your movie. So, in closing, do you have anything that you would like to say along those lines?
No, actually, that's really the, why the movie, and that's primarily it. I mean, when I essentially, when I take an objective look as far as the material that I put together and I want to continue with, this is generally that theme. That theme that we are, it's really important that we understand that our world is contingent on us coming together and not being separate. And I do this through characters, and that's thematic of what it is. Again, I said before, there's reluctant messiahs, but basically everyone does what's right. We're all flawed, but at the end of the day, we do what's right, and you can't lose.
You remind me of that Rich Bob book, one of my favorite books, Illusions, Tales of a Reluctant Messiah. Okay. But for everyone that's listening out there, Chad is a very wonderful person. I hope you do check out his movie trailer. Support him if he needs you. If you need to contact him, go to his website. Once again, Giant. You tell it this time.
Yeah. Go to giantrockthemovie.com or go to Chad C. Meek on Google. You'll run into us any way you can, but you can't miss. Everybody will remember. You'll forget my name, but you'll remember giantrockthemovie.com.
Okay. Yes. Definitely. And I suggest keep in contact with him. He's a very interesting guy. And we will have him back on, and not too. Get my mouth to work here. In the not too distant future, and we'll take it from there. But thank you everyone for being here, Chad. Thank you for being here. Anytime you want to talk, you want to get back on the show, you don't have to wait for my invitation. Just let me know, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Perfect. I will. It's been great show. Thanks.
Thank you. And everyone, take care, be well, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for being a part of our listening audience. Stay informed of what's happening at K-Wave 6 Radio at www.kwave6radio.tk. That's www.kwave6radio.tk. All the best for you and yours.